Dakota. Today I'm out here at Huff Hills with Andy, Mountain Operations, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how skiing relates to the Olympics, because the Olympics is still ongoing.
Underway
a lot
right now,
of skiing competition to be found on NBC with the Olympics.
Absolutely.
And out here at Huff Hills, how long has this facility been going on for?
Next year's 30 years.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy to think about. So.
Especially for how long it's been in North Dakota, right?
Yeah.
So we've been here a couple of times before. We've talked about snowmaking.
Yep.
We've been talking about some of the skiing facilities that you guys have.
Right.
What's kind of the base level of learning how to ski when we start off with ski instruction? What's the kind of first step that people take when they're trying to get on the hill?
So obviously, you know, we get them set up with equipment in the rental shop, and then we've got instructors that take them over to our beginner area. And really, like, we want people to get comfortable on their skis and get used to that balance. So one of the first things they work on is that balance. And you know, from there all the way up through World Cup skiing, you'll see a lot of times that fore-aft or frontwards and backwards balance is so important. And so we like to start them out, you know, with a good base like that, and then they just start building their skills from there. So
I was a ski instructor actually back in Connecticut for a couple of years, so I understand how important that weight distribution is on your skis, and it's all about the edge control, right?
Right.
So when people see someone going down a run on the Olympics, right?
Yep.
They're watching them turn left and right. It's all about that edge control, getting up on your edges to make a turn and stuff like that. So when you're first learning to ski, you start off in a pizza shape, right?
Yep. Making the wedge.
And that obviously allows you to slow down, make some turns. But once you get into the parallel side of skiing, that really allows you to carve down the mountain. So can you talk about how you get on those edges and why the carving makes you make those sharp turns and allow you to really speed down the mountain?
Yeah, so when you start out in a wedge, you're basically just using the friction on the snow to slow yourself down. When you eventually get to the point where your balance is good enough that you can ride on the edge, skis have a side cut. They're wider at the tip and the tail than they are in the center. So if you place that edge into the snow with enough pressure, it'll naturally follow a curve around. So when you watch World Cup skiing, that's what you see them do. Those skis are on edge, they're not skidding very much, and they're following the curve of that ski around. What's interesting is it depends on how much speed they have, what position they take. So when you're watching slalom, which is slower but more turns, your athletes are very upright and they're using their lower body to angle those skis. But when you get to Super G and downhill, because the speeds are so great, you'll see their whole body will lean over because they're trying to stand against that force against the ski to be able to hold that edge and make it around the corner. And
even though there's so much training that goes into some of these Olympic athletes' careers, it's also about the equipment too, right? Yeah. So you need to have the right set of skis, and also the right tuning on them, making sure they're perfectly waxed and sharpened, because some of the surfaces that these athletes are going on are pretty hard pack, icy conditions. So can you talk about how some of the conditions are prepared, maybe here at Huff Hills compared to some of those Olympic surfaces that are really hard pack, slick, and ready to grip on your skis?
Right. So on a course, the goal on a race course is you want to have a consistent surface that you can edge into, but you don't want that surface to change throughout the day. So you want bib number 1 to have essentially the same advantage and same surface as bib number 30. And then as you get up in higher speeds like downhill, when you're doing, you know, 50 to 55 miles an hour on an edge, any kind of a bump or ripple can be catastrophic. So race courses are very smooth and they're very hard. It isn't necessarily icy, but it's incredibly densely packed snow. When people come out to a ski area, it's groomed softer, it has the corduroy pattern in the snow, and it's a lot different. But if we did that on a race course, after the first few racers, there would be, you know, big holes in the race course and they wouldn't be able to manage it anymore. So
yeah, exactly. More tamed type of terrain here that people can handle, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the types of skis too. These racers have really narrow skis usually, right? So they can get from one edge to another quickly. So that's really used on these hard pack conditions versus in powder, you're going to have these wider skis that allows you to kind of chew right through that powder and glide down.
And you'll see a difference too when you watch the athletes coming into the finish and they take their ski off. On a speed event, Super G or downhill, you'll notice how long the skis are. Turns are wider, they're not as sharp. Their goal there is to glide and carry as much speed through the course as they can. Slalom skiers, you notice the skis are very short because they need to be able to wrap around a corner really quickly and be maneuverable. So what you use for equipment too depends on what event you're in.
Right, and speaking of the events, we have all the technical events like the
Yes.
slalom and the downhill versus the more speed-based events like the Super G
Yep.
and things like that. So these athletes have to be well versed going
yeah.
from one to another. So there's a lot of racing programs around the country.
Yep.
Do you guys do any racing
Yeah,
stuff
we do
here
have
at Huff Hills?
Yep, we have an Alpine race team, and it's been awesome as it's developed over the past few seasons to watch the kids get better and better and start to develop into a sport like that, and travel to Minnesota and up to Bottineau Winter Park, and so it's been cool. It's been neat to have that connection to like World Cup skiing, you know, in the Midwest like that.
Right, and we were talking before we got started here that a lot of the snowmaking infrastructure had to be built there
Yeah.
to be make these Olympics happen.
Yeah.
So we all obviously also rely on snowmaking here at Huff Hills. So
Right.
can you talk about how that snowmaking really plays a role into making the Olympics happen and also the skiing happen here?
So for similar reasons, you know, being able to use man-made snow gives you consistent snow, and it gives you snow where you need it. So obviously the extreme example is the Olympics, where they don't have any natural snow this season, but we use it extensively too to be able to have the right elevation on a hill to be able to put snow where we want it for ramps. So it's pretty important worldwide at any ski area, but the Olympics obviously this year is a really extreme example of what they had to do to be able to pull that off.
For sure, and you see some of these guys doing big tricks too on half pipes and
Yep.
everything. Do you guys do any terrain park style stuff here?
We do, yeah. We have a terrain park over in our green lift, and
Okay.
that's one of the things that people don't realize, it takes the most snow to pull that off. So when you look at those big jumps like in the Olympics, it takes a massive amount of snow to build something like that out. So
For sure, and we're also talking about how you guys teach people from the beginning, right? Because I got started skiing at a young age, about 7
Yeah.
years old. My dad taught me at a local hill, and I've been skiing ever since. So what is your ski program like, and how does that allow these skiers to get to the racing level or even beyond that?
yeah, so it's neat. You know, you can come out as a kid, 3 or 4 years old, be able to practice, start skiing, start learning, and then progress. And then what the race program offers is as you get better and better, you know, they're going to get better and better, and they have, you know, they're able to progress up to that upper level. So regardless of where you end up, it's a great lifetime sport, and it's something to do in the winter.
Yeah. So going back to the Olympics, do you have anyone that you really like to watch on
So,
Team USA?
We've kind of been excited about watching Paula Moltzen from the U.S. ski
Okay.
team. She's a slalom racer. She grew up in the Twin Cities. She used to race in the Buck Hill Racing program, which is one of the premier programs. And actually, one of our coaches raced with her
Okay.
back in high school. So it's been neat to watch her, and I think she took 8th the other day. So it's pretty
Awesome. Yeah, I was watching Ryan Cochran Siegel,
Yep,
and he was from
absolutely.
a really local ski place in
Yep.
Vermont. So
Yeah.
I skied a lot of times in Vermont when I was growing up, and it
Cool.
was cool to see these local guys with these small resorts, family-owned sometimes,
And he brought home a medal.
going to the
which
big
is awesome.
time. Exactly. Yeah. So we're about to wrap up here. Do you want to shout out anything about Huff Hills, your hours, your website, how we can contact?
Check out the website at huffhills.com, and we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for President's Day, and we'll be open as long as we can into March.
Awesome. Well, keep those snow guns going
Yeah,
as
for
long as
sure.
we can, for sure. And I've enjoyed coming out here a couple of
Yeah.
times, Andy. It's been a great facility, pretty close to home, one of the few
Yeah,
ski resorts
for sure.
in North Dakota. So I appreciate you taking some
Yeah,
time with us today.
absolutely.
And we'll resume North Dakota Today right after.